Let's make a start. Good morning, everybody and teacher. My name is Yadaporn sanakkhetkit, and I'm pleased to be here today to talk to you about Incoterm 2020. It will start with what Incoterm rules. Next, the rundown of all 11 terms, and finally, which Incoterm is best for seller and buyer.
First of all, what are Incoterm rules? We need to understand this first. Incoterm is a trade term agreed upon by both the buyer and seller during an international transaction.
Incoterm is part of international trade as it clearly states what jobs, costs, and risks are involved with seller and buyer.
An overview of Incoterm 2020 for 11 term, 7 for any mode of transport.
EXW X works is X warehouse. X work is when the seller places the goods at the disposal of the buyer at the seller's premises or at another named place.
The seller does not need to load the goods on any collecting vehicle, not that it needs to clear them for export where sure care is applicable.
FCA free carrier. The seller deliver the good to the carrier another person nominated by the buyer at the seller is limited or anything named the place.
The party are advised to specify as explicitly as possible the point within the named place of delivery as a risk passes to the buyer at the point.
CPT created to the seller deliver the good to the carrier or another person limited by seller as an agreed paid. If any is agreed between parties,
The seller must contract for and pay the cost of carrying necessary to bring the goods to the named place of destination.
CIP carries an insurance pays to the seller has the same responsibility as CPT, but they also contract for insurance cover against the buyer risk of loss of or damage to the goods during the carriage.
The buyer should note that under CIP, the seller is required to obtain insurance only on minimum cover. Should the buyer wish to have more insurance protection, it will need either to agree as much expressly with the seller or the make its own extra insurance or arrangement.
DAP delivers at paid. The seller delivers when the goods are paid at the disposal of the buyer on the arriving means of transport ready for unloading at the named place of destination.
The seller bear all risks involved in buying the goods to the named place.
DPU delivered at place and load. DPU replaces the former Incoterm DAT delivered at terminal. The seller delivers when the goods when unloaded at place at the disposal of the buyer at the named place of destination.
The seller bill or it involved in bringing the good to an unloading, then at the name place of destination.
DDP delivered duty paid. The seller delivers the goods when the goods are paid at the disposal of the buyer, here for import on the arriving means of transport ready for unloading at the named place of destination.
The seller bears all the costs and risks involved in bringing the goods to the place of destination. They must clear the product, not only for export but also for import, to pay any duty for both export and import, and to carry out an custom formality.
For ocean and inland waterway transport, FAS free alongside ship. The seller deliver when the goods are placed alongside the vessel nominated by the buyer at the name port of shipment.
The risk of loss of or damage to the goods passes when the products are alongside the ship. The buyer bears all costs from that moment on board.
FOB free on board. The seller deliver the good on board the vessel nominated by the buyer at the name port of shipment of procure the good already so delivered.
The risk of loss of or damage to the goods perceived when the products are on board the vessel. The buyer bear all costs for that movement onward.
CFR, cost and fees. The seller delivers the goods on board the vessel or procure the goods already so delivered.
The risk of loss of or damage to the good present when the products are on board the vessel.
The seller must for and pay the goods and freight necessary to bring the goods to the named port of destination.
CIF's cost insurance and freight. The seller delivers the goods on board the vessel or procures the goods already so delivers the risk of loss of or damage to the goods passes when the products are on the ship.
The seller must contact for and pay the cost and freight necessary to bring the goods to the named port of destination.
The seller also contact for insurance cover again the buyer of loss of or damage to the goods during the credit.
The buyer should note that under CIF, the seller is required to obtain insurance only on minimum cover should the buyer wish to have more insurance protection. It will need either to agree as much implicitly with the seller or to make its own extra insurance arrangements.
When Incoterm is dead for seller and buyer, DDP benefit and buyer, and the seller assume move of the liability and cost for shipping.
And EXMU benefit a seller as the buyer pay from at the transportation cost, and if the product get lost along the way, the seller is not liable. Well, that is for me. Thank you very much.